folks, Joe the Harp here with lesson 1 on how to hold the harmonica. You might think, a whole lesson on just holding the harmonica, how difficult can that be? You know, surely you just pick it up like that. What this lesson is all about, however, is not just holding the harmonica, but also how you touch the harmonica with your lips. This lesson is about the entire physical contact you make with a harmonica prior to the moment where you actually play a note through it. There's masses of different ways of doing it. This is not a prescriptive lesson at all. Let's start with the second bit, how your lips make contact with the harmonica. It's a good idea if you put your lips quite a bit over the cover plates, okay? Especially the top lip over the top cover plate. So, do you see that? That was quite a bit of my lip showing. The way I sometimes think about it in terms of the musculature of your face is you are introducing some tension to the edges of your mouth, but your top and your bottom lip should be quite relaxed. You want nice relaxed lips flopping over the top of the harp, but you may be wanting to compress a bit on the sides. You're trying to get as good a seal as you can on the harmonica. You're touching the harp with the wet bit of your lips, which is kind of good news as far as the harp goes, because that will act as a bit of a glue to ensure that you do get that good seal and you don't have any air going to the right or the left. We want all of our air to be used sounding reeds. The other part is it makes movement much easier. Yeah, it's more lubricated. So now let's get on to the main part of this, which is how your hands touch the harmonica, which is how you hold the thing. Just to mention a general point that comes up, we do talk about electric harmonica and acoustic harmonica in much the same way as you do with guitars. Any situation where the microphone is being held by the same hands that are holding the mic, we kind of call that electric playing. Okay, so acoustic playing means that you aren't holding the mic with your hands. Now, it may well be the mic is on a stand here, you know, you're being mic'd up, you're going through a PA or something, but you still call, if both of your hands are being used exclusively on the harmonica, we tend to call that acoustic playing. So, when we're talking about holding a harp to play acoustically, there's 57 different ways of doing this. I'm going to suggest that there are possibly some principles that you might want to be thinking about, though. The first one is you should be comfortable. Any holding of any instrument where you end up feeling any tension in any part of your body, in your shoulders, in your elbow, in your neck, in your back, is probably saying you are not holding it in an optimal way. The second one, which is related to that, is that, of course, how you're holding it should not impede your breathing. Yeah, this is our engine room when it comes to, in fact, this whole thing, including the diaphragm. We don't want anything getting in the way of that. Third principle is obviously you don't want it to impede your oral contact with the harmonica, yeah? So you don't want to sort of hold it like this in a way that you can't flop your lip over the top of the harmonica, because then you're not going to get the good contact. So the fourth principle is that it should be quite stable, yeah, just to make an obvious point. You don't want you don't want to be holding it like that and the thing could fall out any moment. So it wants to feel quite secure. Fifth one is it should enable accurate movement. And then the last point, it should enable some kind of tonal variation that you can offer with your hands, right? Which is a big part of the expressive, emotional part of playing a harmonica. The normal way we play the harmonica is with the low notes to the left-hand side and the high notes to the right-hand side. There are exceptions to that. One example is Lee Sankey, brilliant British harmonica player, loads and loads of stuff on YouTube. Do check his stuff out. He is a southpaw, yeah? So in the same way that Jimi Hendrix used to play his guitar like that rather than like that, that's what Lee does. He plays it with the low notes on the right hand side. Now, in principle, there is no reason at all why you can't do that. I would say, given the choice, maybe do the conventional way. And the reason I do that, it's much the same reason as in the last video. I said let the C harp be your first harmonica. You will simply be able to access more teaching materials that way. Pretty much every book that's written is assuming that you've got the low hold on the left-hand side. What many books will tell you is the orthodox way of holding a harp is this way, okay? So if you look, what's going on here is I'm using my thumb and forefinger, in the left hand in this case, as a clamp. Nice, quite stable there. So we've got a bracket, an extended bracket I'm not going right up to where the holes are yet. I'm leaving a bit of space there to put my lips over. Remember, we don't want to impede that progress. And then what often happens is that people say, wrap the other hand round the side, and then that enables you to do some sort of tonal stuff, okay? Nothing wrong with that version at all. From time to time, when you are performing even, you may want to do stuff one-handed. For a long period, I have played in bands where I have not been a harmonica player only, but a keyboard player as well. And there have been moments in certain songs where I have to play the keyboard and the harmonica at the same time. And for that reason, I actually use a strapped-on mic for my harp, and I can play the piano better with my right hand than my left hand. So I hold the harp with my left hand, plinky plonky plink, there we go. You will quite often see in books reference to a two-handed grip, which is what I would call a central grip. Yeah, so you're basically holding, I'm sort of holding the harp in the centre, all right? And often how it's written is you'll see sort of two thumbs there, okay? So you've got those, and then you kind of wrap everything else round it. Personally, I am not a fan of it. I started off trying to use it. It didn't work well for me for a few reasons. One is that I found that the two thumbs are just in the way of my bottom lip, yeah? The second thing is, if you just look at how, hold this thing, you kind of have to, my right hand's at a bit of an awkward angle here, and I've got my elbow in front of my lungs, and it's not helping me with my breathing. I'm not as accurate going like that, so I don't tend to use this one. So what I use is what you might call an edged grip, or a double hand bracket grip or something, where I am holding the harp with both hands, okay, but they're sort of at the edges of the harmonica, and this is what it's looking like to my eyes. Kind of balancing it on the paddy part of my joint of my finger nearest the knuckle, all right, that's kind of my starting point. And then look at my thumbs. My thumbs aren't going in the middle. My thumbs are sort of getting out of the way, all right? So I'm putting that hand sort of just on top of there, again, not in the way of my lip, okay? I'm putting the other one behind it, and I'm kind of going like that, all right? Now, if you look at this, what have you got? Just underneath just here, you have got a great big hole there for my chin to comfortably go. And then the other thing is, what I sometimes do is the right hand finger, maybe it's because of my chromatic playing past, I quite often have a finger just pushing in there. And just to help you with the mechanics of this, the sense I have when I'm holding the harp is that my left hand is a kind of stable bracket, all right? It's trying to hold its position, and it's almost offering a spring of resistance. And my right hand, which of course is the much more accurate hand, is pushing against that spring. Doing. It's like the left hand is wanting to restore, going back to where we were, and the right hand is sort of gradually pushing in. So I get quite accurate movement there. That works for me. So like I say, this is what it kind of looks like. Oops, look what I just did. I played it the wrong way around, just what I warned you against. This is what it looks like from the front. So yeah, moving it to that thing. You can hear in my tone of voice, this works really well for me. I've seen a few other people who seem to use a similar kind of grip. I think Adam Gusso's not a million miles away from this grip. I noticed him with his two thumbs up, on either side of his nose. I do want to spend some time on the last aspect of holding it though, which is tonal variation. Now you've probably noticed that when people play the harp, very often it looks like this from the front. In other words, as far as the audience is concerned, they can't even see a musical instrument, yeah? It's all hands. There's good reasons for that, because you can get a huge amount of tonal variation from your hands. I don't know whether you have ever had the experience of being in a town where a marching band has visited. The classic experience is the first thing you hear is the deep banging of the bass drum, and it's quite late in the day, just when they start, you can see the whites of their eyes, they're coming down the street when you finally can hear the piccolo. The lower the note, the more it is capable of going round corners, compared to a higher note. If you ever have a sound source and you have a barrier in the way, somebody over here, they will be able to hear this. It will be quiet, of course, because lots of the sound is being absorbed by the barrier. Such sound as does get through is likely to be at the bassier end. What's this got to do with playing the harmonica? Well, what it means is that if you completely cover the harmonica in an airtight seal, it has two effects on the sound the audience can hear. First one, to be sure, is it turns the volume down. The second thing it's doing, though, is of the stuff that gets through, it's turning the bass up and the treble down. There is a famous guitar pedal made famous by one James Marshall Hendricks in the late 1960s called the wah-wah pedal. We can also achieve it in speech with our hands. So I'm just going to go, and now I'm going to alternately close and open my hands, which sounds a bit like wah wah wah, but I was just saying all of that was with my hands, and that's basically what we want to be able to access that degree of tonal variation on the harmonica as well. There's loads of different ways of doing this, but the principles behind it are you want to try to have one end of a spectrum where you almost have an airtight seal around the harp, yeah, and that will be the bassiest you can make it. That's one extreme, and obviously the other extreme is if you go like this. And there's everything in between. Now, the open extreme, to be honest, you get the same sound even if you had it like that. You as long as there's quite a bit of path that the sound can get through. Some people do a basic one-handed grip style one. It's a kind of, you know, woo, 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 woo. The way I do it, I kind of have a hinge here, so it's almost like there's a 45-degree door that opens up, and that's how I do it. The heel of my hand is opening and shutting. Seems to work quite well for me. You know, I don't have to do all this flappy stuff going on. I can achieve that variation. Experiment. You see what's going on. We're tonally varying using the degree of covering of the hands, so creating a sort of sarcophagus in which the harmonica is there. You know, one extreme, bass up to 10, bass down to 1, there. What's nice is if when you play with the bass on 5, all right? So that means that you do actually close it quite a bit, okay? Because then you can go da-da, you know, you can open up the treble, and that's a woo moment for the audience. Or you've got the other bit of variation, which is you can make it more bassy. So it's quite nice if you kind of go somewhere in the middle. Okay, listen, I hope that has been helpful. Do share this, tell me any comments that you've got about this underneath, and look forward to coming back for lesson 2, which is going to be about the breathing side of things. See you soon.